Alright, so we have another day off tomorrow, so I figure we can do something a little bit online. And the irony of today is that this social studies lesson, following along with the unit that we've started, is actually all about water. There we go. So, a little bit of rain here, who knows. So, with water, we have certain things we have to consider. Okay, so here's our first question. Where does water come from? I'll stretch that out. Now, some of you might say the ocean. And yes, water comes from there, but it's too salty to drink. Now, the thing about it being too salty is it actually can be fixed. And that's a process called desalination. All right, so desalination really literally means remove salt. And the one problem is that it uses a lot of energy. So it's not the most practical way of doing things. In some parts of the world, it's the only way for them to get enough salt water or fresh water to drink, but not such a great thing. So I'm not too worried about this process. It's something to know. The word desalination, and I'm going to highlight it, I think. I hope, or circle it. That's an important word. You're going to need to know what that means. So mark that down as important vocabulary on a piece of paper, or actually probably on the piece of paper I'm going to give with this, and remember what it means. All right, so we're still wondering, where does rain come from? So how about we look at the next logical answer, and that is, I want the sticker. How about from rain and snow? And that's actually pretty true the way it is. So first you get a mountain, and you have some handy dandy clouds around it, and you get one of two things. You're either going to get some rain, or maybe you're going to get some snow at high altitudes. Any which way, you get that kind of stuff. And eventually all this rain and snow and precipitation, so that's another word we need to kind of think about, precipitation or precipitation. Let me write that down. Yes, that's precipitation. And what precipitation is, I'll put that here, that is basically rain, snow, even fog and sleet and hail and all those stuff. Sleet with double E. Sleet. No. Sleet. And hail, etc. So, whoops, too much there. Let's see what happens when I pull that down. There we go. So precipitation. This is another word you need to know how to define it. So any which way, it gets into or falls to earth, and basically it becomes part of a river. And we're going to actually do some more about this later on too. And it flows into rivers, and eventually, and I'll do this in black, kind of continue this on, it will flow into the ocean. So that's a problem. So we have to figure out what we're going to do to prevent that from just flowing out to the ocean. Because sometimes, like in the dry season, what do? We don't have enough. We don't have enough water. So if snow falls only in the winter and it thaws in the fall, in the spring, how do we kind of control all that? So what we're going to do is we don't need that up, but that's close enough. We're actually going to block off this area here with a dam. That, in turn, makes it so that the water gets stored and builds up in here. Now, the dam itself is what blocks the water. The area behind it is called a reservoir. So, we have this reservoir, which is a place where water is stored. And basically, it's like a man-made lake in a way. Sometimes we use natural lakes as reservoirs as well. Now, the river that we cut off, for a little while, it would have actually just filled up, but then they start letting some of the water out, so A, the river doesn't die, and B, so the dam doesn't overflow, because if too much water gets in there, it could be kind of dangerous. But, so here we have our reservoir. We've trapped rain and snow that's flown through rivers, and now we have a place to go. But there's another place. Now, here we're at home and we want water, and believe it or not, in a lot of cases, that rain that's fallen and flown into rivers is also flown into the ground. We learned that a little bit earlier in our readings. So we have water underground, which means that all we really have to do is dig a hole deep enough, and we can actually pull some of that water out and get, whoops, not letting me draw on top of that. That's not so good. Oh, here we go. Pull that water out here, and let me put a little tap up here. We can get the water out there. So this part, we're looking at a couple of things. We're looking at groundwater, and we're looking at a well. And those are also very important words that we're going to look at. Okay, so anyways, like some of these wells, I don't want that, I don't want this piece, just this one piece, there we go, and that. Some wells you'd probably recognize more if I had drawn it slightly differently, where you have a little kind of block there, you might have a post up at the top, and you have rope on it, and the rope holds a bucket. And you lower that bucket down in the well, bring it up, and you've got yourself some water. Now, there we've got a few things. So we've got the well, we've got groundwater. Important words, yes, you need to know them. Let me circle them just so you remember well and groundwater. And then we just drink it, right? Well, we used to, not so much anymore. So what do we do next? All right, so here we are, and we're going to go back to our dam. So let me just build a dam here in the corner of our screen, and there's lots of water behind it, and it's just come down from the mountains and all that kind of stuff. Now, what we're going to do is we're actually going to take that water, and we're going to build a pipe, and we're going to take that, whoops, let's make that a black pipe. We're going to take that pipe, and we're going to go and we're going to bring it to a facility. And at that facility, we're going to put it into a special kind of tank. Now, I'm trying to make a square here. There we go. So we're going to pour it into our first tank, which is a settling tank. Oops, wanted to square again. So our settling tank, there we go. The water gets poured in there, and basically, and it's literally called a settling tank for a specific reason. The big chunks of dirt and stuff settle out of it. They settle to the bottom of the tank. So once they come out of there, and we're going to take the pipe, and we take it from the top where the water that doesn't have the big chunks in it comes out, and it goes all the way down to another tank. Now this tank is a little bit different. So the second tank that we have is the filter tank. And at the bottom of this filter tank, we have some really, really super special stuff you've probably never seen in your life. Oh wait, whoops, didn't mean to do that. And what I'm talking about is sand and gravel. Yes, sand and gravel, the stuff that you see on beaches and what's used in making houses and all that stuff. It's at the bottom of this tank, and literally the water seeps down through it, and the pipe comes out the bottom of it, and it's actually been filtered. It's been cleaned quite a bit, but not quite enough. We need to go to another place to filter it. And at this next place, nice big black box, we're going to start adding some chemicals. Now, the chemicals that most commonly are added is most commonly added is chlorine. And now chlorine is used to kill a lot of the harmful germs and bacteria that don't get filtered out in the beginning. All right, and finally, now after that chlorine's been added, we basically pipe it into a clean storage area. Either sometimes it's a water tower, sometimes it's a cistern, an underground tank, and then it eventually gets its way to your house. And that's part of the whole thing. Now, ideally, this is clean water and you should be able to drink it out of your faucet, but unfortunately that doesn't always happen. And many of us have our own little filter systems inside our house, or we buy bottled water instead of filtering it ourselves. But essentially, most places have sort of a system like this. Here in Bangalore, we have a couple of reserves. There's one you can actually see just from the school where rainwater is stored. It gets filtered and cleaned before it gets brought to people's houses or to their apartment buildings and stuff. And basically, that is the water system. So you need to know certain things. You need to know about the settling tank. You need to know about the filter tank. You need to know about the chlorine, about the water storage, and then it getting piped to your house. Because this is all going to be something I'm going to ask you to be able to produce. Thank you very much for listening. I know this has been about 10 minutes, so hopefully you didn't fall asleep in that time, and you've learned a little bit. I'm sending along some notes that you should print out and finish. Have a good day.